IP, IP,
IP,
IP, IP,
IP,
IP. Welcome to IP series, home to all things IP related, where I give you the stories, tips, and implications to business and creative decision concerning your intangible assets with real life case study. I am your host, Rita Chinda. Subscribe and turn on your notification so you don't miss an episode. Cheers, guys. So we are now in episode 103, and I'm sure you may be wondering, what is the conversation for today? So if you are basically you work in the video game industry or you work in the film industry, then this episode is it's a special request for you from Omotayo, who reached out to me after the news of the Aki and Pawpaw video game broke the Nigerian media space. So before we delve into that conversation, if you haven't listened to my last 102 episode, yes, 102, please, Ejo, help your girl. Listen, subscribe on any of the platforms you're currently listening to my voice. Yeah. And let's welcome Omotayo. So when you're talking about video games or adaptations or exploring or commercializing or exploiting the bundle of exclusive rights that a movie has or a video game has, that is basically left to the creators of the movie, who may opt to license or assign certain elements of their intellectual property right. And the video game intellectual property industry is still an emerging conversation in Nigeria, and while we create more awareness on how filmmakers or video game developers or creatives generally can explore the right to adaptation, right to reproduction, translation, and the rest of them, there is also a need to have this conversation on how IP plays a major role in how all of these conversations take place. The challenges that many video game developers may face, such as lack of adequate funding, high cost of internet access and data, low awareness and appreciation of video game as a form of arts, piracy and intellectual property infringement, limited access to global distribution, cultural and social barriers to gaming, scarcity of skilled and experienced talent. I think that, when you talk about scarcity of skilled and experienced talent, I would say the narrative is changing for good. So while I welcome Omotayo for us to have this conversation on the potential of the video game IP industry, where we are now adapting movies into video game, or even considering adapting video games, the few ones that we have, I can't think of anyone now, but adapting video games into movie, or actually creating animated story, just everything, film, video game, copyright work, and that's what this whole episode is about.
Today, I have another guest with me, and I'm going to let her introduce herself because she's more or less like co-hosting with me today. This is your usual or our usual interview session. So, Mataya, over to you.
Hi, Rita. Thank you so much for having me today on IPSERIES. Actually so excited to have a conversation with you at regards film-related issues. So my name is Inakoju Omotayo. I'm currently the legal executive for Silverbird Group. And as you already know, Silverbird Group contains of the distribution arm, the exhibition arm, more like it. So majorly, I've been exposed to film-related issues as it relates to exhibitions and distributions. But then outside that, I take it upon myself to garner knowledge as it relates to film production, just to give me like an overall knowledge about the film industry. So I actually hope to have a very robust conversation with you today, Rita. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for agreeing to come and share your expertise with us. But let's dive right into our conversation for today, which the video game adaptation of Aki and Pawpaw. So I do recall seeing like a post sometime, I think it was 2021, correct me if I'm wrong, where they say Charles of the Play Network is growing to actually create a video game, and sometime in March it went live. So with regards to intellectual property rights such as right to adapt or translate a copyrighted work into another form, say that this is the right step in the right direction. Is video game IP from being a movie to having a sequel, a reboot, to having memes, lots of memes out there that have an IP related implication. And now we have a video game. So what let's just hear from you as someone who works for one of the biggest film companies in Nigeria.
Yeah, so I'm super, super excited to actually hear about the video game. I particularly love it when producers or studios tend to think outside the box about how they can actually monetize their intellectual property, especially when it relates to film. Of course, there are studios, and what they basically do is films. But like I said, I find it interesting when we have people that uses their initiative to think about creative ways for them to make money. And I can always beat my chest for play network every time, because they sort of know how to go out of their way to do new things in Nollywood. And like you rightly said, that is the case of this Aki and Pawpaw epic run. So I would say it's actually a step in the right direction, considering that they were able to think outside just exhibition. First, it was the sequel, and now, or more like a remake, and now they have actually come out with a video game. So then, but the thing is, I tried to download the video games and the video game, and it is actually very interesting. But so far, the feedback hasn't been that great in terms of the user experience you get. But then that's not the reason why we are here. The reason why we are here is just to, focus on, oh, is it a step in the right direction? So I would say it's a fantastic idea, considering the fact that majority of the population of Nigerians are actually youth. Over 60% are youth. And when you think about games, you think about youth, you get.
So
I
are
remember
you
while I
saying that
was
are you saying old people cannot play game? I think I'm feeling a
No,
bit
no,
slightly
no,
wrong.
no. No, of course, that's not the case. That's not the case. Old people can actually play games, but majority of youths play games. Of course, there are few old people that loves to play games, you get, but then youths are more involved in playing games more than the old people, more than the advanced people, you get. I was just about to share my experience in law school with was it Temple Run? Oh, sorry, Candy Crush.
Oh,
I
so
loved I loved Candy Crush while I was in law school. Like, I really loved it, and the game was so popular. And it was popular because of the user experience. Everything was fast. Your adrenaline will be popping at every time. Like, what's going to happen next? Which order do you have to cross next? And all that. It was so interesting. So it's an
there's
interesting time.
other one too that I became obsessed with, and I had to just delete it from my phone. I think it's Coin Master. So I think it was always popping up on my Instagram page. All these celebrities were, and like everyone was always inside, like, okay, let me just download this thing and get to it. And then I became obsessed to the point that I got obsessed.
Addicted.
I swear. I was like,
Yes.
God, I just had to leave it to myself. You're occupying unnecessary space. Candy Crush out. You out. I'm not interested in you.
You're not
But
interested in it. But
I'm
seriously,
interested.
it can be distracting actually. It can be distracting. Thankfully I passed law school. I don't know how, and I passed well. But then thank God, thank God. So for this Aki and Pawpaw is actually a step in the right direction. And of course,
I
there are several ways that they can actually monetize the game you get in terms
yeah.
of of course is new, and they might not have a lot of people that wants to pay to download. So I like the fact that it is free to download it. Do some in-app purchases, like at some point you might have to buy coins for you to proceed to the next level or for you to stay alive, and all those things actually would generate income for them. Then also they also have ads. I understand that they have actually introduced ads to the game, which of course would fetch them more money. You get anytime any brand wants to advertise, or if it's Google or Apple, you get. So they tend to put the ads on the game, and whoever watches the ad, of course, it's more money to Play Network's pocket. So I would say it is actually a step in the right direction, and it's also what other filmmakers, film producers should be looking out for. But when it comes to ancillary rights like this, you would know that you should have built your brand to an extent, you get, before you start thinking about opportunities like this. So
Well,
of course,
yes.
Aki and Pawpaw is a household name in Nigeria. Their fan base is huge. They have fans across Facebook. They have fans across Instagram. You get, so it's
Fans
already,
outside Nigeria, basically, because
you
if you see a
get.
lot of Twitter, all these Twitter gifts, they have a couple of those on Twitter and all of that. So they are
Mm-hmm.
really big. I think one time there was this news station, can't remember now, I think a few years ago, that published did a publication or they reported something regarding Aki and Pawpaw meme and all that. Trust how your Nigerian people will do now. Everybody should have had of thinking like, yeah, Aki and Pawpaw taking us somewhere. So I think for me, they kind of flip the script when it comes to adaptation of video games. So normally we see that proper video games are being adapted into movies. Whereas in our case now, we have adapted from a cinematograph work or an
Into a
audiovisual
game.
work into a game. So, okay, this is the model that we want to take and run with. And like you said, they've garnered or they have enough goodwill and reputation that they can, exploit. And they also chose a good brand to actually start with the gaming, the whole gaming IP video game thing that is downloaded. I think they have like 50,000 downloads already, which is good. A fan code can get you access to a date with one of the characters because like everyone associate Aki and Pawpaw. I don't even sure I know their real names. I know them as Aki and Pawpaw. So that's something that both parties should have negotiated. I don't know if they have in the thing. But the character itself, character merchandising will come into play that the network would have also monetized or marketing.
Yes, yes.
That everyone
Yeah, so I want to believe that when they made the remake, they actually bought all those rights together, you get, to make the remake, to use the characters and everything. Then also when they launched the game, Aki and Popo also publicized the fact that the game is live. So I want to believe that they are actually aware. But then when you think about it now, so in this case, is it Aki and Popo that are supposed to give the rights, or the original producer of the Akinakwa, where the Aki and Popo character actually emanated from?
So it should be the original, like the first person that actually came up with the Joaquin Aqua story.
Yes.
But then it has now, it's like Marvel movie. Marvel movie has grown bigger than Marvel. Nobody is focusing on Marvel. They're focusing on each of the individual characters, which is why you see a
The
lot of
characters.
Iron Man merchandise, the Black Panther merchandise, like all these subsidiaries under Marvel are thriving.
Yes.
And merchandising or character merchandising is the way that the original producer of Akinukwa should have, opted. As we know that copyright gives the author of the work some bundle of exclusive rights that they can actually monetize. So other than right to publish to the public or distribute to the public or communicate to the public, you have adaptation rights, you have
True.
reproduction
True.
rights, you have translation rights. So all of the, but then you can look at character merchandising from the trademark aspect where there's like a secondary meaning attached to your movie. Nobody recalls or remembers the name of the movie, but the lead characters
They
in the
remember the
movie,
characters.
everyone remembers the character. So you build on that, and just
So,
you
so,
have
so, so my question now is, considering the fact that, like you said, the filmmaker automatically owns all the rights, including the character and all. When you think about Aki and Pawpaw, you think about the two guys, the two lead roles, which are Chinedu and Pawpaw. You get. So then, considering the fact that just like in the case, the recent case of
the killer care.
um, Domitila, yes, yes, where she went ahead to trademark the name. So now,
Character.
of course, I understand that the filmmaker owns the merchandise rights, the character rights, and all. But then, like you mentioned, for a Marvel, it has passed just Marvel. Now is more about the characters. But then the characters are still owned. They were developed by another brain behind the character, which usually is maybe the script writer, depending on the kind of agreements they had, or the production studios. You get. So now, have we gotten to that stage in Nigeria where the actors that actually acted that role or played the character can actually lay ownership over whatever income they are able to derive based on that character? You get. Now we are talking about video games, and obviously they used the cartoon or caricature of Aki and Pawpaw. So who gives them that right? Is it the Aki and Pawpaw that we know now, the real Aki and Pawpaw, or it will still be the production company, the filmmaker that made the first Aki and Pawpaw that will give them the right to use the cartoon version of Aki and Pawpaw in the video game?
Regarding your question, I was saying for me, I would start from the contract, what the parties agree initially, and when that happens, the film director or producer saw how these two characters were able to bring in popularity or they blew more than the film itself. They should have now focused on it was still considered to be it was still considered an emerging area in Nigeria, and so the producers did not see a need why they should, take all of that. But then, flowing from that to when they decided to do a sequel, that should have been renegotiated. So if you're actually going to monetize on Aki and Popo, the main characters, and not the original title of the movie, then we should be entitled to some sort of um, compensation. So if you're going to build a character that looks exactly like me, name, image, likeness, voice, all of those things, this is where image rights and right of publicity will now come into place. And everybody goes happy. So they are getting, so the Chinedu and his co-actor will be getting some sort of compensation for the use of their name, their image and likeness. Then I also look at it from the performance. right angle where the new copyright law now lists people who are actors as part who which includes them as part of performance under section 63 sub 3. So being categorized under that, they have certain rights to control how their fixation is being used, how the reproduction is done, the reproduction, if it's made for a purpose other than what they gave their consent to, the making of the original fixation or reproduction, distribution to public, broadcasting, communication, making available to public, all of those things. Then the law now goes further to make provision for performances that can be protected, um, where it is now presumed that you go further down to 65, it talks about presumption of consent, whereby in the absence where Aki and Popo, the absence of an express agreement, Aki and Popo consents to their performances being broadcasted, it shall be deemed to be, you know, it will be considered that they gave their consent to that. So all of those considerations need to be taken into place. Then you look at the moral rights of performance, which was never in the Copyright Act before, where the law now says they can object and prevent any form of distortion. So the video game is not a distortion. It is also another means uh, that is part of the bond of exclusive rights
Yes,
that
exploitation.
now, yes. So for me, like I stated from the beginning, the original contract was just to add the movie Aki and Pawpaw. But Aki and Pawpaw now grew bigger than the original movie. So you see, people were more fixated on the characters than the movie itself. Same reason why most people associate Aki and Pawpaw when they don't call them by their real name, but people now um, focus on the secondary meaning of Aki and Pawpaw. So Aki and Pawpaw, they now see Aki and Pawpaw as like the main title of the movie and not
Of the
even.
film. True.
Yeah. So character merchandise is something that Hollywood has maximized and exploited. For instance, Star Wars, Disney, all of those big film companies, they've
The
maximized.
Frozen,
Char-
Frozen and
Yes.
all.
So if we start to, I mean, I expected that when wedding party, like blew everyone's mind. I expected with the reboot or the part two, there was going to be some sort of character merchandising with Banky's friend, and all of this, but that never happened. Same thing with
Yes.
what's it called now, living in bondage. I expected something. People
True.
still, you have people that are older, the older generation that still have a thing for living in bondage.
For living
So
in
all of those,
bondage. True.
yes, all of those concepts is what will now make your film or movie thrive. So you're not just focusing on theater income. You're focusing on character merchandise. You're focusing on other merchandise as well. So a T-shirt,
So
a school bag, an
yeah.
umbrella, hair, all of those things. But that has not been put into consideration. But this, like I stated, adapting a film into a video game in Nigeria was like flipping the regular coin of the IP video game market, where it's normal for a book to be adapted into a video game or a video game to be adapted into a film. For instance, The Witcher, which is currently on Netflix, or Gods of War. I don't really play video game, but my boyfriend plays video game and I've tried to learn how to play it. Like I sit and watch uh the likes of Mortal Kombat, all of those things. They are movies as well, but they are also games. There's this
Yes, the
one,
movies,
which
but
is
they
kind of like
also
an animation.
even
Mm,
Assassin's Creed.
yeah, so all of those things, but this is like the first ever in Nigeria and I would say in
Yes,
Africa.
yes. So
Uh,
yeah.
so
So
I mean, they might not have started well, but they're actually on the right direction. It's just for them
true,
to keep
true.
improving as they go.
Yeah, so they just need to improve on the user experience. So make the
Yeah,
game faster, make the cartoons look more appealing. A lot of because I went online, I went to Apple store and I just checked the comments, the
yeah,
feedback about the games. And what I saw, fine, the people were commending their effort, to have come up with that idea. And but then the idea is not particularly new, you get, because it's something that is identical to maybe a temple run or a Subway Surf. And we've even had similar games in Nigeria that are made or designed or developed by Nigerians. So, for example, we have the Gidi Run, we have the Aboki Run, we have Niger Rush, you get. So, but then I think the only thing that differentiates the game is the Aki and Pawpaw element of it. If not, it's something you get, it's something regular. But like you said, it's actually a great initiative. At least it opens the mind or the eyes of the other filmmakers to the fact that, oh, you can actually make a game out of your film. So if we have filmmakers that can actually come up with, creative ideas, new ideas, they can actually make good money. You get, and if possible, they can partner with maybe even international game makers, maybe like a Sony, you get, with the PS and everything. So they can actually make a good deal and they are able to tell African stories with the game. They are able to come up with characters that people can relate with in the game. You get, it would be fantastic. And
Definitely.
yes, it would actually, we just need filmmakers to think outside the box and partner with the right people. You get, I want to believe that studios like Ant Hills can actually do something like that since they already do animations, you get. So they can come up with fantastic animations and just partner with an international video game company. And of course, it would go a long way. It would go a long way. So one thing I would also like to ask is, when it comes to coming up with video games,
Yeah.
as a filmmaker, what are the um, legal issues that you need to look out for? So, for example, let me start by saying, of course, your mind will want to go to, considering what we have been discussing
Mm,
till now, which is the issue of licensing. Of
mm,
course, you want to get license from the original owner of Aki and Pawpaw. That's assuming they have not done that. And for the purpose of this video, we are assuming that, oh, a filmmaker is listening to us and will want to actually make a video game, maybe
mm.
from his own film, his or her own film, or for from a third party's film. So that's this what this discussion is focused on. So the first thing that will come to my mind is the issue of licensing. You get. So if the film is not yours,
Basically
yes. So
say,
if the original film you are making the game from is not yours, then of course you want to get a license from the filmmaker or the production studio that actually owns the film. Then, secondly, if you are doing something that is similar to, maybe you can go on, you can go on.
okay, so I was going to say my contribution to that would be, other than the focus on the producers of the movie. I think when you're not coming up with the concept, you now have to think about the collaborators. Who are the collaborators
Yeah,
actually going?
so I was going to get to that, which I, of course, the first person that will want to come to your mind is the developer.
True.
You get, so the developer of the game. For example, this Aki and Pawpaw was developed by a company called Blue Portal. And I quickly went through their page. They mentioned there that they signed something called game development agreements. So
Okay.
depending on your negotiations with the game development company, you can actually either do a work for hire agreement where the game development company is not necessarily going to get royalties or get any further payments you get. Or you can actually work something like, oh, okay, you get a percentage from every income that we get from monetizing the game. So it will depend on the kind of negotiations or relationship that you want to create with the games development agreement, and it would also depend on which of the party you are. You get? So in this case, if you are the filmmaker that wants to develop a game, the best thing for you would be to just have an outright right over the game. So you pay the game development company one off, but then this is outside maybe the maintenance upgrade you get, so you need to be particular about all these services as well, because like I said, the game has a lot of glitches, and we would ordinarily want to believe that from time to time the game development company would want to keep working on the game and of course maintain the game from time to time. You get? So these are issues that you have to think about. So you need to work with the filmmaker, you need to work with the game development company. You also, of course, the characters that were spoken about the other time, then also the sounds that are used in the game. So I noticed that they used some local sounds in the game, though a lot of people don't particularly like the sounds, but then the sound is their choice, you get. So of course they need to also consider that if they are creating an original sound, they need to do maybe a work for hire for the people, for the creatives that will work on the sound, or if they are using a third party, an existing third party sound, then they need to do maybe a synchronization agreement with whoever the creative that owns the sound that they are using in the game. Then another thing is the artworks in the game. Another thing you should also look out for, like I was saying, is the artworks. Is the artworks in the game. So all the artworks too, if you have commissioned a creative to come up with the artwork, you need to sign a contract with the creative as well to specify all the ownership rights, specify the roles, the obligations, the rights of the creatives that have come up with the artworks that are used in the game. Then also, like I was saying, if your game is similar to maybe a temple run or
Mm.
a subway surf, depending on how identical or how similar it is, you might actually want to get a license from the proprietor of the games, that's the games company, to say, oh, we are doing something similar to your game. We need a license to actually run with that. But then
Or you
you
just
inform.
go into like a collaboration arrangement with them. Save you licensing fee anyways.
Yeah, so like I said initially, all these things, they are not cast on stone. It depends on what you negotiate with them and what they prefer, you get. So they might say, no, we don't want to do a collaboration. Just take the license, run it your own way, pay us a one-time fee, or maybe you'll be paying us depending on the profits you make from the game. So it's always open to, discussions and negotiations as regards how you want to proceed with the idea. You understand? So are there other legal issues that so those are the ones that can come that came to my mind right now. So are there other issues that we need to avert our minds to?
So, issues between the author and development studio. So, for instance, the author of Aki and Pawpaw and then the development studio as well. Those are some of the issues that make.
Like we've been discussing before now. So
Yeah.
are there other specific ways? Because I've noticed the pattern amongst filmmakers, especially the upcoming one. When they are making films, most times the only means that they avert their mind to actually make money or exploit the film is usually through exhibitions. maybe traditional means like the theater you get, or the digital means, which is to upload the content on maybe a YouTube or a Netflix or all other digital platforms. So as a filmmaker rather, are there other ways that you can actually make more money, exploit all the rights in your film rather than just focusing on exhibition alone?
So let's look at what are the rights that a cinematograph work has.
Fantastic.
Um, can you hear me? I don't know if you
Yes,
can hear
yes.
me.
I said fantastic.
Okay, I thought you were hearing me.
No, no, no.
Okay, so you know that previously under the former Copyright Act, films were categorized as cinematograph work,
Cinematograph,
but now
yes.
yes, but now they are now categorized as audiovisual work under section 11 of the Copyright Act, which gives you, the right to reproduce, the right to
Broadcast.
in, yes, to include visual images, to communicate to the public, to make translations, to distribute, to adapt. No, translating into other languages will be another form of monetization, whereby you want to distribute to say Tokyo or Uganda, and your movie was shot in English or in Igbo or Yoruba. Are looking out for. Then coming up with like a franchise business strategy or model will be another way that filmmakers can also consider other than premiering a movie. So if your movie did good, so for instance, let's use Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious started 2001, and this is 2023, 22 years later. And with each new sequel or reboot, people, I won't say they're losing interest, but most of the stunts are becoming unrealistic for, but they still love it because it builds goodwill, reputation of the movie. So I think before you put out your first content, with like a very strong story that people would um, be able to fall in love with when they think and then ask for more. So once you start demanding for more, then you now have to look out for collaborators or people within the same that produce the same kind of movie with you, and come up with a better story. Or even while you're writing your script or working with the script writer, you now have to give a lot of space for stories that you want to continue and then build. Either you're building on a particular character or the next character. For instance, the Bridgerton story. We started with Daphne, then we moved to what's that boy's name now? The elder son, and now we've done Queen Charlotte. So just make your script in a way that each of your character has a story to tell, that each of your consumers or fan base that you hope to get would be interested in. Another one that came to mind was um, the licensing arrangement or distribution arrangement, whereby you have to distribute to countries that have a particular uh, country, or let's say, so you have Nigerians in Canada, you have Nigerians in Ghana, in Ghana, in Kenya, and different parts of the world. So you might want to now collaborate with those smaller theater companies there to distribute your movie and make really loud noise. I know one person that actually maximized that was Funke Akindele for what was that her movie where she was in Spain now? I can't remember. But she
I
took
get
advantage
to.
of the yeah, she took advantage of the fact that she had a big fan base in the United Kingdom, and she also sold out as well. So also having like a big film budget or big film plan for yourself. Okay, do you want to premiere or showcase one day in one of the film festivals? If yes, which of the film festivals do you think are partial to African stories? Which who is that actor that you feel might want to key into the narrative of, oh, I have some sort of African blood in me? Those are the things I need to consider. Then the actors or the performance you also use, your crew, your marketing strategy. What else? I wanted to mention merchandise again, but I think I've hammered so much on merchandising. And
Yes,
merchandise is
yes.
something the Nigerian market needs to start keying into. because
Yes.
one, yesterday was AMCDA, and we saw how beautiful everybody looked. You know, we had the red carpet and not flashy, flashy things. But each of the movies that were and Nikolapo, I was looking forward to seeing. I think yeah, he eventually created a merch his music for this one of the first. Um, I would say that that's one of the first films that actually, were intentional about monetizing their story. So it wasn't just about the character, it wasn't just about the story. It was about making money outside all of these things, having a limited stock of merchandise, um, having a soundtrack list that people would want to go back and listen to and just relate to, or say, oh, I can actually, when I listen to this track, I remember when this or this person did that in whatever sense. So that's it for me, anyways. I mean, tell more behind the scenes story. Let people see the effort. I enjoy behind the scenes stories. They actually gives me an insight on how creative the filmmaker was, the performers, the actors and the actresses were in expressing the story that was being given to them. So I think that's about it for me on how you can monetize the thing
Okay.
outside.
Okay. So, as much as I would love to say you have said it all, but
I've not said
I
it
was just
all.
absolutely you've covered majority of it. But then I just have to add some few things, which is number one, I think filmmakers they need to start thinking more like business owners than just creatives. I think it starts from there. You know, when you see your film as a product that you need to monetize from all ends, you get, by then you'll be able to start thinking creatively about how you can actually monetize your film. And I feel when it comes to monetization, it's not something that is post production based. So monetization should actually start from the development stage, the pre-production stage. And I say that because just like you mentioned, when it comes to monetization, like you need a strong strategy behind monetizing your film. So let's take, for example, this film comes to my mind, Smart Money Woman by Arese Ugo. If you watch that film, you will notice the way they played with different brands. Like,
Mm,
obviously, all those brands gave them money. They invested in the movie, which tells you
making
that
up
you can
profit.
actually start, yes, you can actually start making money from your film even before you release it. You understand? And that is, you think about that strategy at the script writing stage. You write your script in a way that it accommodates brands, and you have something what like that we call brand product placement, which means, oh, you write your story in a way that a first band can say, oh, okay, I want to invest in the movie. Then you stylishly advertise first bank products. You advertise their services in a way that even your consumers will not even notice. They just feel, okay, it's a part of the movie. So
True.
as a filmmaker, monetization shouldn't be something that you start considering at the post-production stage. Like you mentioned
Exactly.
Anikulapo, yes, like you mentioned Anikulapo. Anikulapo is like one particular example that comes to my mind when it comes to monetization. Because Kunle Afolayan was able to partner with his clothing line, Ire Clothing, to make merchandise. They used the names in the films, they used the faces of the characters in the films, you know. Number two, the song Ibambajo, they shot a proper video for it, that was launched on YouTube. Of course, they would
Wow.
have garnered more money from viewers on YouTube. In fact, the soundtrack got the best soundtrack yesterday at AMVCA. Kent
Very
Edunjobi is the
impressive.
name of the guy that wrote. You said what?
I said very impressive. Very impressive.
Yes, yes. So Kent Edunjobi was the one that wrote the song, that performed the song, and he got the best soundtrack yesterday at the AMVCA. Then another thing is Kunle Afolayan was also able to come with his he used his resorts in the film, and in a way he was able to advertise the resort also in the film. You know, when you mentioned behind the scenes, it was Funke Akindele's movie that came to my mind, Battle on
Which of
Buka
them?
Street. Battle on
I
Buka
haven't.
Street.
I haven't seen that movie yet, but I
Ah,
do love.
it's a fantastic movie. That's why I was sort of pained when she didn't get the award, but then Bimbo too deserved the award, so I didn't mind.
Selena,
Since he went to
our Selena.
Bimbo, since he went to Bimbo, I actually didn't mind because Bimbo actually, like, she worked for it. She deserved it, you get. But then Funke Akindele's performance and Mercy Johnson was fantastic inside Battle on Buka Street. Then another thing pay attention is, like you already mentioned, is the issue of marketing. Marketing too is not something that is an afterthought. Marketing should start. If you follow Kemi Adetiba well, you will notice that she is already marketing the films that she has not even produced. Like as we
Good.
speak, she has started her marketing, and you don't have to be aggressive about it. Just be subtle, carve a story around it. So the first thing she did was for people to start sending in their videos for them to be a cast on the movie. And what she's doing is she's stylishly preparing people's mind towards the film for them to start expecting. You are building awareness. When you start seeing trending videos about people that are acting, they want to be a cast in a movie, you be like, which movie is this again? Oh, the movie is not even out. Wow, I can't wait for it to be out. So after that, she went on to, you know to choose who the cast would be. Then she mentioned that, oh, if you didn't make this first list, you probably make the next list. You get, these are just ways that you just, you smoothly market and publicize your film without making a fuss about it. And when some people tell you what their marketing budget is, you will not want to talk to them again. So seriously, fine. There are some few movies that can sell themselves, but then the story must be out of the world
Yeah.
for a film to actually sell itself.
Mm.
And I think one movie that comes to my mind when it comes to selling itself is oh, I've forgotten the
I
name
was
of
going
this
to say
one.
King of Boys, though. I was going to say King of Boys. I
Yeah,
don't know
King
why.
of Boys, but then King of Boys too, they did a lot of marketing. They did a lot of marketing for King of Boys. So, okay, let's just proceed. So, like, marketing is not something you toy with. You should have a chunk of your budget go into marketing. Because no matter how good your story is, if people are not aware of it, they will not watch it. So, as you strive towards coming up with a good story, also strive with dedicating a particular portion of your budget to marketing. And even Battle on Booker Street, I'm not sure Funke Akindele spent a lot of money, but she created content around that movie as if her life depended on it.
And even after it was released as well, I think I
Yes,
saw it.
and yes, even after it was released, she kept creating different kind of content, and she also made her cast and crew to.
So I think another
Yes,
another angle based on this conversation will be exploiting user generated content, especially in this digital
definitely,
era. Social
definitely.
media, just like
Yes.
budget for your film. Focus on the other aspect.
Mm-hmm. Then yeah, so
social
one thing
media.
is another. Then TikTok too. TikTok, just create a challenge. Let people start doing the challenge. You get at the end of the day, maybe you give the winner maybe a 1 million or a 500K, but then your film has blown. It has gone everywhere because of the challenge. TikTok can just promote something beyond your imagination. Just start a challenge. Get your celebrity friends to participate in the challenge. Before you know it, it will go viral. And as the challenge is going viral, your film too is going viral. You get. So
Okay.
filmmakers
Yeah.
just need to be creative about monetizing their content. And of course, if they don't have this knowledge, I would say follow no road, like we usually say. You get. Follow no
Yeah.
road. It's as easy as that. So you want to follow a Kunle Afolayan, you want to follow a Kemi Adetiba, a Funke Akindele, and see how they do what they do. It's that simple. Just look at them and see. You might not have a budget that is as yeah, so you might not have a budget that is as big as theirs, but there are some things that don't necessarily involve money. Like this posting on your page, you get tell people about your upcoming projects, make people make videos, create content around your film, create challenge around your film. Just let people talk about the film as much as possible. You get. Then another thing, another means of promotion or monetizing that people don't actually pay attention to, like you mentioned, is the film festival. The film festival may not necessarily pay you, you get, but then it's you get some connections at the festival. You can get distribution deals at festivals when you participate. And if you are lucky, your film wins, they might actually give you money or at least give you exposure. You understand? So film festival too is fantastic. Then also work with lawyers, work with directors, work with cast and crew that understands the business of film. You can work with Rita, you can work with me, We've been in the industry, and of course, we know how all these things work. We know how it works. That's why, aside the legal aspect of it, you want to work with a lawyer that actually understands the business of filmmaking, which is actually very, very important, because as a lawyer that understands film, you're not only looking at the legal aspect of it alone, you're also looking at the business aspect of it. If there is
About
need,
advertising and
advertising,
tax related issues.
of course. So, APCON, right?
Yeah.
They came up with a law recently indicating that, oh, before you can place adverts, you have to get license. Also for content creators and everybody, before you can advertise anything, you need to get license. And to get license, of course, they want to see the content that you are promoting. Then also, just like you mentioned adverts now, of course, you want to think about the censors board as well.
Yeah.
So for censors board too, of course, you need to censor your film to know the people that can actually consume the product. If you have some scenes that are not suitable for kids, they might ask you to remove it, or they might ask you to not to exhibit it to some age range. You get. So all this, but then I think basically that is actually the role of a distributor, because of course in Silverbird we distribute and we most times censors film, but then that might not be the case. A producer can actually also take that step of taking his or her film to the censors board, and they look at it, then they certify it as they deem fit. You get. Then when it comes to tax is another another aspect on its own. You get. Though the tax system for creatives are not that strong for now in Nigeria, but then there are, of course, existing laws or existing tax brackets that actually covers creatives, mean that being that they are individuals or they own businesses that of course carry out businesses, and they are covered by either the Companies Income Tax Act or the Personal Income Tax Act, PITA or SITA, just like we call it. So you need to consider the structure of your business for you to know the exact tax that you are exposed to or you have the obligations to pay. You get in terms of taxation, what are your thoughts actually? Because, like I mentioned, our tax system for creatives is not that robust. Like, we can't pick any law and say, "Oh, this one, it is certain," or deals directly with creatives. So, of course, I know there are laws in the pipeline that would actually deal with creatives, but I don't know how far they've gone with it. So, what are your thoughts about that?
In line with what I would just want to draw our attention to is with regards to insurance. So certain insurance will require that you part with a certain percentage at the if you as a filmmaker or someone who wants to exploit certain elements of an audiovisual work or a cinematograph work or film, whatever it is, and you opt for an insurance. So you have to get ready to part with whatever insurance, whatever percentage that that insurance company has been taxed with. Looking at it from the part where you are protecting yourself from unforeseen force majeure that may occur. For instance, during the pandemic, a lot of filmmakers were unable to go on with production. They couldn't also distribute. I know we had what's this case now? I can't remember again. But we had cases that came up during the pandemic within the film sector, but it did not affect the gaming sector because, for instance, in the gaming world, they had the likes of Fortnite partner with Travis Scott. Now, was there any publication as to how much tax Travis Scott was asked to pay because he performed virtually and not in a physical space? And there was no conversation on insurance or whatnot. So I think that's in a nutshell. That would be my take on tax and how it affects the film industry. But then it's best that filmmakers also have conversations or engage the tax department or the tax agency within their jurisdiction to find out whether they have memos or guidelines that affect them as filmmakers, uh, not minding the local tax. So people that come to disturb you while you're shooting your movie and they're asking you to pay X, Y, Z and all this. Those are undocumented tax that are unaccounted for. No one knows where the tax is actually going to, but you're being taxed for coming to this location, for going here, from passing here, from using your camera and all those conversations. So that's about it for me anyways.
Okay, okay, fantastic. I would say we've had a really robust conversation since we started. So, for you, what are the takeaways for you from this conversation?
So my takeaway first of all would be that now we have a video IP game out there in Nigeria. I think more filmmakers should start exploring different monetization model, collaborating with other creatives or book authors, um, developers, gamers. They also need to take into consideration non-disclosure provisions within
Agreement.
their contracts, yeah, so that no one goes ahead to say, "Oh, guess what? After starring in this movie, I'm also going to be a star in the video game that we have coming up." That's disclosure and that's a breach as well. You need to also consider non-compete clauses where you're engaging developers or you're collaborating with studio companies or distributors for your game, making sure that they will not go and replicate or reproduce a similar game to yours, because you know that each of these games have like a bundle of intellectual property rights from
Sure.
copyright to patent to
Trademark.
design right, yes, to trademark. So when you consider all of those things, you now need to have proper structure whereby you will not give room for anyone to take advantage of any loophole because you do not put your house in order, because IP is part of every game. Like I stated, so from, like you said, company name, the avatars that will be used, pricing information, in-house development tools, deal terms, software, um, inventive gameplay or the game design, character, website design, user interface, um, advertisements, website design, box design, music codes. Codes is another issue that I feel people may have. Another thing that we need to consider is when you're using an open source code in the public domain, where codes have been put in there for people to use for free, but you must acknowledge the person that actually put the code there. You must make sure that your developer is using the right code and not using codes that might end up putting you in trouble that will get your product to be removed from either Play Store or Apple Store at the end of the day because someone did not acknowledge someone when he was um, using the code to come up with the game that you've created. Then make sure that you're documenting everything. Making sure that your lawyer is in every meeting, the studios, with the distributors, with the developers, um, anywhere you're going. Just make sure that you have your lawyers around with you. But I would say we're looking forward to more IP game videos that are as a result of the production or an adaptation right gotten from an already existing movie or a book by a Nigerian author, as the case may be. So maybe investing more into merchandising and harnessing character merchandising for the film industry. We want to be able to have made in Nigeria characters as much within our homes, carry it with you, you know, I mean, things like that are things that we should also be considering, anyways. So, what about you? What are your thoughts regarding this conversation?
Okay, so can I say your thoughts are my thoughts?
Totally.
Okay. Okay, so you've summarized it all, but then for me, I would still um like to emphasize on the fact that monetization is something that starts at the pre-production stage. So you need to be intentional about your scripts. You need to be intentional about the cast and crew, because there are some cast and crew that will not sell your movies. There are some faces that sells movies. So you need to do your research and know what works. Even the genre of film that you are making, there are some genres that if you make in Nigeria, you will not make money. You get, so you just need to get your research. You need to get your research right, and just create rooms for you to monetize your products as much as possible. And the opportunities are endless when it comes to films. Like I said before, you can even start making money from your film with before you start exhibiting the film, or even before post-production stage. So currently I have a client. They are doing a documentary, and they are still at the post-production stage. They've not even released the documentary, but they've gotten like 2 or 3 grants in dollars. In
Can you look the grant
dollars.
for grant for us now? Maybe we'll also go and dip our hands into the well.
You have to pay for that. You pay for consultation. So that's what we dey do for here. So you just need to do your research well. You get, there's money everywhere. There are some festivals that are focused on African films. There are some festivals that want you to collaborate with Europeans. And once you can prove that you have such collaboration, they are willing to fund your film. You get. So they think about product placement, think about how you can write your script to accommodate brands that have the same, the same brand value with the content that you are creating. Think about how to, maximize your characters. And of course, while you are doing all these things, put strategies in place to protect yourself. Don't forget about registering your trademark. Don't forget about registering your copyright. Don't forget to work with a smart, knowledgeable, experienced film lawyer. Yes, so yes, that can actually hold your hand from one stage to the other. Attention must be paid to details. It's called a creative business for a reason. It's a business. It's not just fine. You have a talent, fine. You're exploiting your talent, but then don't neglect the business aspect of it. Think about your soundtrack. Create soundtrack that people can relate with. Create soundtrack that matches the movie. That once people listen to the soundtrack, they think about the movie. It brings memories back to them. Think about games. You're reading now, think outside the box. Come up with ideas that are new, are fresh, people can relate with. All these things are things that can actually distinguish you, that can set you apart from other producers. Even books, you can still write books from your story, from your film. You get, just at every point, think about creative ways that you can make money. And of
Life
course,
shows us.
there's definitely there's money in filmmaking, so don't sleep on it. Don't leave any money on the table. So that would be my own
But
take.
to hold your hand, to hold your hand as the expert and knowledgeable and smart film. It's been a very it's been a very exciting conversation. Omotayo, thank you so much for coming in, to
Thank you.
find your
Thank you.
vision.
Thank you for having me. Thank you
Yeah,
for
so
having me.
final words. How can we reach you if we want to hold the smart, intelligent, knowledgeable film lawyer? How can we reach out to you?
Okay, so that's very easy because on Instagram, that's my favorite social media, Instagram. And
Why Instagram?
that's because I'm just free on Instagram. I can post myself dancing, I can post myself at the beach, I can do, aside educative content, I also post lifestyle content, which of course is part of me. So, okay, one thing I forgot to mention was that I was at AMVCA yesterday, but then I got there late. I could not enter. They said the hall was filled.
You took picture with background. You took
I'm
picture with
making up.
background.
I'm going through
But
the
you took picture with
stress.
background now.
You said what?
You took picture with background now, as in with the backdrop.
I said I didn't even have access.
Oh
Even
God.
even with my VIP tickets, they said the hall is filled, so I could not even enter. As in, I just had to leave because I was even tired. I just had to leave. So, like I was saying, my favorite social media is Instagram. So on there, I actually share a lot of educative content that would help filmmakers, and of course, they are free content, but loaded with informations that you would actually need as a filmmaker, is loaded with a lot of value for filmmakers. So you want to follow me at the Omotayomi, on Instagram. But then you said what?
Can you spell that so that
Okay, TheOmotayomi. TheOmoTomi, Omotayomi on Instagram. Then on LinkedIn, you can find me with my name, Inakoju Omotayo. So there I share strictly educational content, but then I've actually been considering sharing some videos here and there too, so you can look forward to that. But though I've not started, but then I have plans to actually start posting videos on LinkedIn too, so you can follow me on LinkedIn. Then Twitter too is still the Omotayomi on Twitter. Thank you so much, Rita. Thanks for having me. And I hope we'll do more of this because the conversation, it was really smooth and, of course, full of value. So thank you so much, Rita.
You have automatic right of station. Anytime you want. Yeah, are you ready? Yes.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much, Rita.
Let's say people can find me on, but people already know where to find me. So bye bye. See you people next time.
Bye.
All right.
Wow, within episode 103, the bomb. Thank you so much, Omotayo, once again. For my IP friends, if you found this really insightful, please like, share, tag this episode to any filmmaker you know, or anyone that works in the film industry, or game developer, or is into animations, or any creative you know. Share this episode with them. If you don't agree with whatever we discussed, you can always send me a DM or DM, or reach out to Omotayo. Don't forget the handles are at IPSERIES _ with _ Esmeraldo ESQ, or IPSeriesinfo@gmail.com. That is how you can reach me now. And yeah, that's about it for me, and see you in episode 104. Cheers, guys.